The night I got down on one knee, I was sure I knew how my life would go. I could see it like a movie in my head. Her surprised smile, her hands over her mouth, the shake in her voice when she said yes. I had played that scene so many times that it felt real already. What I did not see was the way she would look at me, like I had just asked her to move to Mars. My name is Marcus. I am 29 and I live in Seattle. I design websites and logos for small businesses. Most days are simple. I drink too much coffee, ride my bike if it is not raining, and call my dad every Sunday. My life is not amazing, but it is steady. At least it was. Olivia had been part of that steady life for 2.5 years. She is 32, a lawyer in a big firm downtown. She keeps her whole world inside lists and reminders on her phone. Groceries, cases, gym days, even her relax time has a calendar alert. Somehow, she still laughs easily when she lets herself relax. I always loved that. We met at a friend's barbecue. She was standing near the grill arguing with someone about which city had the best pizza. I jumped in to disagree and she gave me this look that said I was wrong but interesting. We talked all night and I walked her to her car in the dark. 2 weeks later, we went on our first real date. 2 years later, I was sure I wanted forever. So I bought a ring. Nothing crazy, not the biggest diamond in the store, but it was simple and bright and it felt like her. I kept it in my nightstand drawer, tucked in the corner inside a sock like a crime. Every night that week, I pulled it out just to look at it. My chest would tighten every time I snapped the box shut. I made a reservation at this French restaurant on the other side of town. The kind of place where the menus do not have prices printed large, and the servers move like they are in a quiet dance. When I called, I asked if they had a corner table. Somewhere kind of private. The guy on the phone laughed and said he knew what that meant and he would do his best. Friday, I got my hair trimmed, shaved cleaner than usual, and put on my best navy suit. I checked myself in the mirror 3 times before leaving. On the drive downtown, I practiced what to say in my head. Tell her she makes life make sense. Tell her how she makes you feel calmer just by walking into her room. Tell her how you see a future and it has her in every part. By the time I pulled up in front of the restaurant, my hands were sweating so much I had to wipe them on my pants. Olivia arrived right on time, like always. She wore a deep green dress that hugged her in all the right places, her dark hair falling loose around her shoulders. For a second, I forgot every word I had planned. She looked me up and down. "Wow, you clean up nice," she said, but her eyes narrowed a little. "What's the occasion?" "Just wanted to take you somewhere special," I said. "You've had a rough week." She tilted her head like she did not fully buy it, but she smiled anyway. We walked inside together. The place was warm and dim, all wood and soft light. People were talking in low voices. There was a smell of butter and garlic in the air. The host led us to a table in the back. It was perfect. A little world of our own, but still close enough to the rest of the room that it didn't feel strange. We ordered drinks. She told me about a case she was working on. I nodded and tried to keep my hands steady around my glass. "You're quiet tonight," she said at one point, studying me. "Just tired," I lied. "Long week." She shrugged and kept talking. I watched the way her hands moved when she was explaining something, the way she pushed her hair behind her ear, the line that showed up on her forehead when she was thinking hard. I thought, I want to see this forever. By the time we finished our main course, my heart was pounding so loud I was sure she could hear it. The server cleared our plates and asked about dessert. I looked up at him and gave a small nod, the one we had talked about when I called. He understood at once. "I'll be right back," he said, and walked toward the kitchen. I wiped my hands on my napkin. Then I put it down on the table, pushed my chair back, and got to my feet. My legs felt like they did not belong to me. When I went down on one knee beside the table, the whole room seemed to tilt. Olivia's eyes widened. For a second, her face went soft, like I had just handed her something delicate and beautiful. My fingers shook a little as I pulled the box from my pocket and opened it. "Olivia," I said. My voice came out low and rough. "I love you. I want to spend my life with you. Will you marry me?" The words hung there. For a moment, she didn't move. Her gaze dropped to the ring, then rose back to my face. I watched something change in her eyes. It was like a door closing slowly but firmly. Her hand went to her throat. She always did that when she was scared or caught off guard. "Marcus," she said quietly. I knew. Before she said anything else, I knew. My stomach turned cold. "I can't," she said, shaking her head. "I'm so sorry, I can't." Nobody nearby gasped. No one clapped. The couple at the next table kept eating. A fork tapped against a plate. A laugh floated over from somewhere behind me. The world did not stop, even though mine did. I stayed there for one more heartbeat. Then I closed the box, stood up, and slid it back into my pocket. My face burned. I did not trust myself to speak. She reached toward me like she wanted to touch my arm, then dropped her hand and folded it into her lap instead. Her eyes were shiny, but no tears fell. The server came back with a dessert plate and froze when he saw our faces. "I can bring the check," he said softly. "Yes," I said. It was the first word that made it out. We paid and left a tip that was too big because I did not know what else to do. Outside, the air was cool, and the street was full of cars and people. We stood under the awning like two people waiting out a small storm, not a broken engagement. "I don't want to hurt you," Olivia said, staring at the sidewalk instead of me. I don't feel that kind of love anymore. I tried to get it back, I really did, but it's not there." The words were quiet, but they hit hard. "Is there someone else?" I asked. I hated how small my voice sounded. "No," she said quickly. "This isn't about another person. It's about me. It's not fair to say yes when I can't give you what you deserve." I nodded because speaking felt dangerous. One wrong word, and I would break open right there on the street. "Thank you for being honest." I managed. We walked to my car without touching. The valet brought it around like it was any normal night. I drove her home in silence, my hands locked on the wheel, the ring box like a stone in my pocket. At her building, she unbuckled her seatbelt slowly. "Can we talk tomorrow?" she asked. "I think we should. I just need tonight to think." "Okay," I said. It was the only thing I could say without my voice shaking apart. She touched my arm for half a second. "You're a good man, Marcus," she said. "I'm really sorry." Then she was gone. The lobby doors closed behind her. I sat there in the glow of the dashboard lights, listening to my own heartbeat and the soft sound of the engine. On the drive home, the city lights blurred a little. Not from tears, but from the strange numbness that spread through me. It felt like I had stepped out of my own life and left it sitting back there on that restaurant floor. I thought that night was the end of my story. I had no idea it was only the first chapter. I woke up the next morning feeling like I had not slept at all. My body ached, but there were no marks. My phone lay face down on the nightstand. For a few seconds I forgot why my chest felt so heavy. Then it all came back. The restaurant. Her eyes. The word no. I rolled over and grabbed my phone. 3 messages from Olivia waited on the screen. "Hope you got home safe." I couldn't sleep. "Can we talk later?" I stared at the words until the screen dimmed. The idea of seeing her again made my stomach twist, but the idea of not seeing her felt worse. I made coffee that tasted like nothing and stood by my window, watching people on the sidewalk walk their dogs and carry grocery bags like the world was normal. Around noon, I finally typed back, "Yeah. Just tell me when." She replied right away. "This afternoon? At my place?" "Sure," I wrote. I showered, shaved, and put on clean clothes, but it felt like going through someone else's routine. The drive to her apartment was automatic. I had done it so many times before. Only this time, when I parked and walked up to her building, my legs felt heavy. She opened the door before I could knock. Her eyes were puffy around the edges, but her hair was neat, and she wore a soft blue sweater I had seen 100 times. It made the whole thing feel stranger. "Hey," she said. "Hey." She stepped back and let me in. The apartment smelled like coffee and lemon cleaner. Same gray couch, same framed prints on the wall. Nothing looked different, but it felt like I was walking through the last scene of a movie. "Do you want water or coffee?" she asked. "I'm good," I said. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, a small pillow between us like a border. "I owe you a real explanation," she said. I nodded and kept my eyes on her hands. Her fingers twisted the edge of her sleeve. "You didn't do anything wrong," she said slowly. "This isn't about you messing up. You've been good to me, better than I deserve sometimes." "Then what is it?" I asked. My voice came out flat. She took a breath. "Somewhere in the last year, something shifted for me. I kept telling myself it was work stress or that I was just tired. But the truth is, that feeling you're supposed to have when you are in love kept getting quieter." She swallowed hard. I tried to force it back. She said, "I thought if I just waited, if I focused on the good things, it would come back. I kept thinking, he is kind, he is steady, he is everything I should want. But when you got down on one knee, I realized I was more scared of saying yes than of losing you, and that felt wrong." It hurt more because she was not being cruel. "Just honest. You could have told me before I bought a ring," I said quietly, "before I booked a table and practiced asking." "I know," she said, her voice cracking. "You are right. I kept hoping it would fix itself. That is on me. I am sorry, really sorry." I looked at her face. This was the same woman I had pictured standing at the end of an aisle. Now she was telling me she had not felt that way in months. "What do you want me to say?" I asked. "I can't make you love me again." She winced. "I don't expect you to say anything. I just didn't want last night to be the last thing between us without you hearing why. You deserved that." I sat there for a moment, letting the quiet stretch. "Okay," I said finally. That was it. No big speech. No begging her to change her mind. No asking her to try again. My heart wanted to, but some part of me knew that would only drag things out. "You cannot argue someone into wanting you." She leaned forward and hugged me. It was careful and tight, like she was afraid I would crack. I hugged her back because I did not know how not to. For a moment, it felt like every other time we had held each other. Then, the moment passed. When I left, the hallway felt too bright. I made it to my car before the first tear slid down my face. I wiped it away fast, angry that my body had decided to betray me now. Back at my apartment, I went straight to my room, pulled the ring box from the drawer, and sat on the edge of the bed. The ring shone up at me, innocent. I thought about taking it back to the jeweler right then, getting the money, pretending I had never walked into that store in the first place. Instead, I closed the lid and set it back in the drawer. I could not handle that part yet. My phone buzzed. For a second, I thought it was Olivia again. A new message. More explanation. Maybe some part of me still hoped she would say she had made a mistake. The number on the screen was one I did not know. "Hey, this is Natalie. I got your number from Olivia. I hope that's okay. I just wanted to say I'm sorry about what happened. You didn't deserve that." I stared at the name for a moment. Natalie. I knew who she was. We had met a few times. She was one of Olivia's closest friends from college. She had been at a couple of birthdays, a few group dinners. Brown hair, big laugh, always taking pictures on an old camera she carried around. I hesitated before answering. I did not really want to talk to anyone, but words had already been taken away from me once that weekend. I did not feel like going silent again. "It's okay. Thanks," I typed. "Just a rough couple days." Her reply came quickly. We all thought she'd say yes. Honestly, if someone asked me the way you asked her, I'd have said yes. My fingers froze over the screen. I read that sentence again. I'd have said yes. Something in my chest moved. Just a little. Not joy exactly. Not hope. Just a small crack in the heavy numbness. I did not know if she meant it. I did not know why she said it. But her words sat there, glowing in the blue light of my phone, right next to the place where Olivia's no still echoed. I leaned back against the wall, phone in my hand, and for the first time since the proposal, I felt something that was not only pain. I had no idea that simple message, from someone who was supposed to be on Olivia's side, would end up pulling me into a story I never saw coming. I did not answer Natalie right away. I just stared at the screen, reading that one line again and again. Honestly, if someone asked me the way you asked her, I'd have said yes. I didn't know if she meant it as a joke, or comfort, or something else. My brain was too tired to sort it out. But my thumbs finally moved. That's kind of you to say, I wrote. But you didn't see the whole thing. It was pretty rough. A little bubble showed up at the bottom of the screen. Then her reply came. I heard enough, she wrote. She told me it was sudden, but you've been together over 2 years. That's not sudden. That's normal. Anyway, I just wanted you to know you're not crazy for wanting more. I leaned my head back against the wall and let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. I didn't realize until that moment how much I needed someone to say that. That I wasn't asking for something unreasonable, that I wasn't the problem. We kept texting. At first it was simple. She asked how I was doing. I said I'd been better, but I was hanging on. She sent a meme about heartbreak that made me laugh in spite of everything. Then she switched topics without warning. So you still doing those bike rides in the rain like some kind of dramatic main character? I smiled a little. Only when I need to feel extra sorry for myself, I wrote. Good, she replied. You're not allowed to stop doing the things that make you you, just because someone changed their mind. I stared at that message longer than I probably should have. There was something steady in the way she said it. No judgment, no careful tiptoeing, just clear. We texted until late that night. Work stories. Random jokes. Her complaining about how Seattle drivers forget how to use turn signals whenever it sprinkles. She told me she did photography for small businesses and bands when she wasn't working at a marketing agency. I told her about some of the weird client requests I'd had as a designer. At one point, I caught myself smiling at my phone and immediately felt guilty. Olivia and I weren't together. She had made that choice. But it still felt strange to be laughing with her friend 2 days after everything blew up. I almost said goodnight and put my phone away. Before I could, another message from Natalie popped up. Hey, by the way, she wrote, just in case you're wondering if anyone sees you the way you want to be seen, some of us do. I didn't know how to answer that, so I just wrote back. Thanks. That means more than you know. She sent a simple, you're welcome, and a sleeping emoji. I set my phone down and stared at the ceiling. For the first time since the proposal, I fell asleep without replaying the exact moment Olivia said no. Monday morning came whether I wanted it to or not. The office looked exactly the same. Same faded, happy birthday banner someone had never taken down from the break room. Same hum of the old AC unit. People talked about their weekends and complained about traffic. Nobody knew that my life had split into before and after in a single night. I made it through the morning pretending to work. Around lunch, my phone buzzed. Surviving? Natalie wrote. Barely, I replied. She sent a picture of her coffee with a smiley face drawn in the foam. Meet me after work, she wrote. There's a cafe near the waterfront that makes actual drinkable coffee. I promise not to bring up rings or heartbreak unless you do. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to crawl under my blankets after work and not move for a week. Another part knew that sitting alone in my apartment was making it worse. Okay, I wrote. Text me the address. The cafe was small and warm, full of wooden tables and the soft hiss of the espresso machine. People sat with laptops and books, talking in low voices. Outside, the water was gray and choppy. Natalie was already there, sitting by the window. She waved when she saw me. She wore a denim jacket over a simple black shirt, her hair pulled back in a low ponytail. No makeup I could see, but she still looked put together. Hey, heartbreak guy, she said as I sat down. Please don't make that my actual nickname, I said. No promises, she replied, but her eyes were kind. How are you really? I thought about saying fine. Instead, I told the truth. I feel like I lost something I thought was permanent, I said. And now, everything else looks thinner, I guess. Quote. She nodded like she understood. That tracks, she said. Breakups are like someone changing the ending of a book you thought you already finished. We ordered our drinks. She got some kind of flavored latte. I got black coffee. We talked. Not about Olivia at first. About jobs, traffic, dumb things our bosses had said. Then about favorite movies and the best food trucks in the city. She told me about her landlord who promised to fix the elevator 6 months ago and still hadn't. At some point, she leaned her elbows on the table and said, Okay. Tell me about Friday, only if you want to. So I did. I told her about the restaurant, about the way Olivia's face changed, about standing outside under the awning while the rest of the world walked past like nothing had happened. I told her how quiet it felt in my car afterward. She didn't interrupt, didn't try to fix it. She just listened, her eyes steady on mine. "That sounds awful," she said when I finished. "You handled it better than most people would." "I didn't feel calm," I said. "I felt like I'd been punched and couldn't make a sound." "That's still better than yelling or begging," she said. "You respected her answer, even when it hurt. That says a lot about you." I looked down at my coffee. Feels like it says I'm easy to walk away from. She reached across the table and tapped her fingers against my wrist. Not a full touch, just a small nudge. "I don't agree with that," she said. "But if that's how you feel, maybe you've been with the wrong person for a while." Her words sat between us, simple, sharp. Not cruel, just true. We ended up staying there for almost 2 hours. I didn't notice the time passing until the sky outside turned darker and the lights inside grew warmer. When we finally stood up to leave, she smiled at me. "See," she said, "you made it through a whole conversation without falling apart. That's progress." "Pretty low bar," I said. "Hey, progress is progress," she replied. "I'll take it." Walking back to my car, I realized something strange. For those 2 hours, the sharp pain in my chest had dulled. It was still there, but quieter, like someone had turned the volume down. That night, we texted again. Stupid things. A picture of her cat, Frank, squeezed into a shoebox. A photo of the terrible frozen pizza I'd burned for dinner. We fell into a rhythm over the next week. Coffee after work once. A walk around the block another evening. Texts throughout the day. Nothing intense. Just small threads connecting one day to the next. With Olivia, there had always been a plan. Meals scheduled, weekends planned weeks ahead. With Natalie, it felt easier, like we were just letting moments happen instead of trying to control them. Still, every time my phone buzzed and her name popped up, a little guilt flickered in my chest. Olivia and I were done. She had made that clear. But Natalie was still her friend. On Wednesday afternoon, as I stared at my computer screen at work, my phone buzzed again. "Want to grab a walk by the water after you're done?" she wrote. "You look like fresh air would not hurt you." Yes, I can tell through the phone. I smiled without thinking. "Sure," I wrote back. "6? Perfect," she replied. "Try to look less tragic." Later, as we walked along the waterfront with the wind off the bay stinging our faces, she listened while I talked about my dad, about how he still asked about Olivia in every Sunday call because I hadn't told him yet. "Take your time," she said. "You can tell people when you're ready." "You'd think telling my own dad would be easy," I said. "Easy and important don't usually show up together," she said. We stopped at the railing and looked out at the water. The sky was turning orange and pink with the sunset. Boats moved slowly across the bay, their lights blinking. Natalie spoke again, softer this time. "For what it's worth," she said, "Olivia has always been scared of people who make her feel too much. She likes control. You don't fit into a neat little box." I turned my head to study her face. "Why are you telling me that?" I asked. "Because I don't want you walking around thinking you weren't enough," she said. "Sometimes people say no because they're afraid of how real it feels, not because it wasn't real." The wind pulled at her hair. She tucked a piece behind her ear. "Is that what you think happened?" I asked. "I think she saw someone who loved her without conditions," Natalie said, "and that scared her. That's her loss, not yours." Our hands brushed on the railing, once. Then again. I did not move mine away, and she didn't move hers. For a few seconds, we stood there like that, side by side, our fingers touching in a small, quiet line. "I don't know what I'm doing," I said honestly. "Good," she said with a small smile. "Maybe that means this time you'll let things happen, instead of trying to plan every moment." On the drive home, my phone buzzed at a red light. A new message lit up the screen. "Olivia, can we meet soon? I think we should talk." The light turned green. I gripped the wheel and drove on, the words sitting in my pocket like a weight. For days, I had wanted her to reach out. Now that she had, all I felt was a deep, twisting confusion. Between the no I still heard in my head and the quiet maybe I felt when Natalie smiled at me by the water, I had no idea which way my life was about to turn next. I did not answer Olivia right away. For a while, I just stared at the text, asking to meet. 2 weeks earlier, I would have driven over to her place in 10 minutes. Now, I sat on my couch with my phone in my hand, remembering the feel of the ring box, the sound of her voice saying no, and the soft way Natalie had said, "Some of us see you." I wrote back later that night. "We can talk," I typed. "Just tell me when and where." She suggested a small cafe near her office. Not our old spot, not somewhere special. Just a neutral place with plain tables and good coffee. That felt right. When I told Natalie the next day, I expected her to get quiet or strange. Instead, she nodded over the phone. "You should go," she said. "You need to hear whatever she wants to say so you can stop writing the rest of the conversation in your head." "You sure you're okay with it?" I asked. "I am not your owner, Marcus," she said with a small laugh. "You had a whole life before I showed up. Go get your answers. I'll still be here later if you want to talk." That simple trust hit hard, in a good way. The day I met Olivia, the sky was low and gray. Seattle does that thing where the clouds feel like they're sitting on your shoulders. I walked into the cafe and saw her at a table by the window, hands wrapped around a mug like she needed the warmth. She looked up when I came in. For a second, I saw the woman I used to kiss in my kitchen at midnight, wearing my old t-shirts, laughing at dumb videos. Then the picture shifted, and I saw what we were now. Two people who used to fit and did not anymore. "Hey," she said, "hey." I sat down across from her. The air between us felt full but not heavy, just different. "How are you?" she asked. "I'm getting there," I said. "You?" She gave a small smile. "Working too much, drinking too much coffee." The usual. We talked about safe things first. Work, her new case, my new web project. Then the quiet came in, the one we had both been waiting for. "I'd been thinking about that night a lot," she said finally. "About what I said, about how I said it." I stayed quiet. "I hurt you," she said. "I know that. I wish I had been brave enough to talk to you sooner, to admit what I was feeling instead of hoping it would change on its own." I nodded. It was true. There was no use pretending otherwise. "I'm not here to ask for another chance," she went on. "I thought I was at first. When it got quiet after you left, I panicked. I kept replaying the good parts and forgetting the last months. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized I made the only honest choice I could make that night. I do not love you the way you deserve to be loved, and that is not going to change because I feel lonely now." It was strange. A few weeks ago, those words would have knocked the air out of me. Now they felt like the last piece of a puzzle sliding into place. "I don't hate you," I said. "I was angry. I was hurt, but I don't hate you." Her eyes got shiny. "Thank you," she said softly. "You did not deserve that moment, not like that. You were all in." I was half in and trying not to see it. We sat with that for a bit. People moved around us. Cups clinked. Somewhere behind me, a machine hissed. "Is there someone else for you?" she asked quietly. "You do not have to tell me if you don't want to. I keep wondering." I thought of Natalie by the water, her hand brushing mine at the rail, her words at the cafe. I'd have said yes. "There is someone who has been kind to me," I said. "Someone who showed up when everything felt broken. That is all I know for sure right now." Olivia nodded. "I am glad," she said. "You deserve someone who is sure about you, someone who doesn't need to think for months and still fail the test." We both smiled a little at that. She told me then that she had accepted a job in Chicago. A new position, a big move. She was leaving in a month. "It feels like starting over," she said. "Scary, but maybe good scary." "I think you'll do well there," I said. "You're good at building a new life from nothing." "Look who's talking," she said. "You thought you were going to be married by now. Instead, you are sitting here, standing on your feet. That counts for something." When we said goodbye outside, we hugged. It was soft and short and final. Not bitter, just done. Closing a book, turning the cover over, placing it back on the shelf. "Take care of yourself, Marcus," she said. "You too," I replied. I watched her walk down the street until she turned the corner and was gone. Then I let out a breath I did not know I had been holding since the night at the restaurant. Something in me felt lighter, not fixed, just less heavy. More room. On my way home, I texted Natalie. "It's done," I wrote. "We talked. It helped." She answered almost at once. "Proud of you," she wrote. "Now meet me at Cal Anderson Park. I brought snacks and my camera. That is your reward." When I got there, she was sitting on the grass in a faded red hoodie, a blanket spread out beside her, camera resting on her lap. The air smelled like wet grass and food from trucks parked along the street. She looked up and shaded her eyes with her hand. "So," she asked as I sat down, "how bad was it?" Quote, "Not bad," I said. "Hard, but honest." "That is the best you can hope for," she said. "We ate chips from a bag and shared a soda." She took a few pictures of people passing by. Then, without warning, she pointed the camera at me. "Don't," I said, making a face. "Too late," she said, snapping a shot. "You look less breakable now." I needed proof. I laughed, and it felt good. The weeks that followed were not some perfect happy montage. I still had days where something small hit me wrong. A song in a store. A line in a movie. A couple holding hands in the street. Grief does not leave on a schedule, but now I was not walking through it alone. Natalie kept sliding into my days in simple ways. She sent pictures of the sky from her fire escape. We met for coffee and walks and late dinners at places that did not need reservations. We watched old movies at my place and made fun of the parts that did not age well. There were no labels, no big talk about what we were, just two people who kept choosing to show up. One Sunday afternoon, my dad called like he always did. I told him about the breakup at last. There was a long pause. Then he said, "I'm sorry, son. I know you loved her." After another pause, he asked, "Is there anyone new you are talking to?" Quote, I thought about how to answer. "There's someone I like talking to," I said. "Nothing set, but I feel better when she is around." "That's a good sign," he said. "Sometimes the right one shows up after you think your story is done." That stuck with me. A month after my talk with Olivia, I went to see Natalie at a small art show in a community center. She had started taking her photography more seriously again. She had two prints on the wall, one of city lights and rain on a windshield, one of a person walking alone on a bridge at night, the figure blurry but upright. "They are about change," she said when I asked, "about nights that feel like endings and are not." "They're beautiful," I said. "I mean it." She looked at me for a long second. "You always sound surprised when you say something kind," she said, "like you're not sure you are allowed." "Old habit," I said. "Maybe it is time to drop it," she replied. After the show, we walked outside. The sun was low, turning the buildings gold. A light breeze moved the leaves. She leaned against the brick wall, arms crossed, eyes on me. "I have a question," she said. "Okay." "Remember that night I texted you the first time?" she asked, "when I said I would have said yes?" I felt my chest tighten. "Yeah," I said, "kind of hard to forget." "I did not say it to flirt," she said. "I said it because I meant it. Not about the ring, about you. The way you asked, the way you show up. That is yes material." I stepped a little closer. "So what are you saying now?" She held my gaze. There was no rush in her eyes, just calm. "I'm saying," she said, "that if you ever ask me something real, I am not scared of answering." For a second, all the noise of the street dropped out. It was just her and me in the quiet space between us. "I do not have a ring," I said. "I am not ready for that again." "Not yet, but I can ask something now." "Then ask," she said. "Will you stay," I asked, "in my life, for real, not just as the girl who helped me get over someone, but as the person I want to choose on purpose?" Her mouth curved into a slow smile. She stepped into me until her hands rested flat on my chest. "Yes," she said, "I can answer that one right now." I kissed her then, not like in a movie. No big music. No crowd clapping. Just a simple, steady kiss in the light of late afternoon. Her hands curled into my shirt. My heart beat fast, but not from fear this time. When we pulled back, she rested her forehead against mine. "See?" she whispered. Some of us were always going to say yes. Later that night, when I got home, I opened my drawer and pulled out the ring box one more time. I held it for a moment in my hand. It did not hurt the way it used to. It felt like an old story that had already been told. The next day, on my way to work, I stopped at a donation center and handed it over. The woman at the desk asked if I was sure. "Yeah," I said. "I am." As I walked back to my car, I thought about how I had started all this on one knee in a dark room, staring up at someone who could not give me the answer I wanted. Now I was standing straight in the daylight, walking towards someone who had given me a different kind of yes. I proposed to one woman, and she said no. That hurt in a way I did not know how to name at the time. But her friend, the one who texted me late at night and laughed loud in cafes and said "I see you" without making it a big speech, she was the one who quietly showed me what yes was supposed to feel like. And in the end, that is the answer that stayed.